What's up, Meta-Nerds? This video is about all the ships used by the Trade Federation before the Clone Wars. So this will be all of the transports, cargo haulers, and shuttles, but also the cruisers, destroyers, and starfighters that were all a part of the Trade Federation fleets before the Confederacy of Independent Systems was formed. Remember that, as the name suggests, the Trade Federation was just a bunch of different individual merchants and shipping companies that came together to coordinate both their business efforts and to act as a lobby in the Republic. Kinda like a combination of a teachers union and OPEC, by having so many members they could get special deals, while also being important enough to the galactic economy that they would have an increasing sway on political matters, eventually to the point where they got a Senate seat. That is why the Trade Federation was able to grow to essentially have the largest navy in the galaxy until the Clone Army was unveiled. So on that note, let's start with the AUXILIA-CLASS Pursuit Destroyer. Produced by Kuat Drive Yards, this was a legitimate warship made for the Trade Defense Forces, the branch of the TF that was granted more and more power as pirate attacks became more frequent and deadly. You can see signs of the later Kuat-produced Venator, with these sloping slides coming to the strip, along with all these turbo lasers on the ventral side. This would have been used several decades before the Battle of Naboo, and was most likely one of the first to be decommissioned after that incident. From there we have the Advanced Droid Fighter, which was an upgraded version of the Vulture Droid. Though it was better in every way, the cost was also said to be significantly higher, and was most likely abandoned in favor of swarms of cheap fighters. Then we have the Advanced Project Ship, which was a predecessor to the TIE Fighter. In fact, it was made after the Scimitar, and had the general look of a TIE, but with a 20-meter wingspan instead of 7 meters. Though no official images exist, it was produced in the year 29 BBY, but again didn't fit into the droid army philosophy of countless cheap autonomous units. Then we have the C-9979 landing craft, easily one of the most useful ships in the TF. It could transport enormous amounts of cargo from the core ship and the Lucrehulk. Later it would be used to carry the land vehicles of the Federation like the MTT and AAT. And it was actually inspired by the previous TF ore barge. In that way it followed a similar path of the LH-3210s, being slowly adapted from a straight cargo ship into a more military role. After the Battle of Naboo, the Republic ordered the TF to decommission their Lucrehulks, which resulted in the core ship. But a ship that had a similar design to the 3210s was the Captor-class heavy munitions cruiser. The ship was also exempt from your normal turbo laser restrictions, and could act as both a resupply ship for other Trade Federation warships, and as a carrier for squadrons of starfighters. The ESTAP was a shielded droid star bomber that was said to pack the power of a hyena bomber while being protected by a powerful deflector shield. Then you have the Hunter-Seeker droids, which look like flying droidicas, which makes sense given that they were also produced by the Colicoid Creation Nest. Some of these would stay in use up through the Clone Wars, but were originally intended to just be automated escorts to the C-9979. These spheres would glide alongside, protecting the cargo through both space and atmosphere, and could quickly unpack and unload on pirates. The LUPUS-CLASS missile frigate played a similar role, having 4 concussion missiles for taking out pirate flagships, but also 6 anti-starfighter laser cannons to keep off any boarding parties. Some of them were able to escape the post-Battle of Naboo decommissions, with some being used to attack an acclimator in 22 BBY. And believe it or not, some Providence-class destroyers were used before the Clone Wars. Built by the Quarren, it was intended to be an improvement on the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser. Since the Trade Federation was already allowed some cruisers and frigates that had both turbo lasers and starfighter complements, it didn't really make sense to ban it just because it was a bigger ship. Of course, these got more and more heavy firepower as the years went by, until it eventually became one of the primary capital ships of the Confederacy. Then we have the Scarab-class droid starfighter, a predecessor to the Vulture. You can see how compact they could get, but though very similar in stats, when a band of pirates was able to easily blow through them, the TF lost faith and all but had them completely replaced with Vultures. Interestingly though, I just think this was bad luck for the Scarab and not a true design inferiority, so if it hadn't been for that pirate group's success, the Scarab may have been the main starfighter of the Clone Wars. Similarly, the TF Droid Bomber was a ship produced before they decided to just have 2 specialized ships, the Vulture as a fighter and the Hyena as a bomber. From there we have the shuttle known as the Sheathipede. This is a craft most of the later CIS leadership would trust their life to, as it was a really solid build and only required minor upgrades over its decades of production. There was the TF Cargo Hauler, which has no images, but notable ones like the Rim Merchant and Neem were said to be smaller versions of Lucrehulks. After the invasion of Naboo, one was seized by the Republic and used by Wilif Tarkin as a command ship. The TF Cruiser has a simple name, but an exotic weapon system. Though lined with some laser cannons for taking out starfighters, its main weapons were its 12 cruise missiles, enormous bombs connected to engines that could be remotely piloted by the crew. With this accuracy, all 12 of them could be perfectly placed on an enemy ship's weak points, or guarantee a direct hit on a pirate base. TF escort cruisers were used mostly in Neimoidian space, and were described as split-ring battleships surrounded by 6 hard-cell-class interstellar transports, the latter being made for the Techno Union. This strange combo was defeated by Thrawn in 27 BBY. Then we have the Trade Federation Freighter and Super Freighter. Both have design elements similar to the MTT, and as per the TF's MO, its cargo areas became increasingly filled with droid starfighters. The Super Freighter is equipped with deflector shields, and had these 2 laser cannon turrets. But if you want even more MTT in your design, there's the TF Troop Transport, which was essentially your favorite droid deployer with some ion engines slapped onto it. These are used during the operation on Karthak, and almost always required the escort of Scarab-class fighters. But now some even more obscure references. There's the TF Probe Droid, this unidentified mine layer, and this space station known simply as the Trade Federation ship. These different rings and platforms would make it like a massive trading port, but to me, as much as that makes sense, it doesn't really look like something from Star Wars, more like something from the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. But that's it for all the ships and starfighters used by the Trade Federation before the Clone Wars. Definitely let me know if I missed any, and if there were some that you never heard of. Were any of these cool enough that you wish they were in the Clone Wars? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to connect with us, help support the channel, or get your own copies of the reference materials used to make these videos, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but most important of all, remember, beware the power creep, and the Force will be with you, always.